Wholesale Hotline. I'm Brent Daniels.
I'm Jamil Damji.
And I'm Jerry Norton.
And I'm Pace Morby.
Every week we bring you the best information on real estate investing.
Be sure to participate in the comments.
And subscribe.
Enjoy the show!
So thank you so much for calling Wholesale Hotline.
Wow, that's great.
Welcome to Wholesale Hotline number 267. My name is Brent Daniels, and I love talking to people. And I'm joined by the incredible, the flipping genius, Jerry Norton. How are you, Jerry?
Fantastic. Happy Easter, Brent.
You as well. Had a successful one. And first one for you on the on your big estate. What do you call it? A homestead?
Homestead. We call it the farm. Yeah, and we're like all in. You know, we got animals. We just got a bunch of goats the other day. So yeah, we're really having fun. It's exactly what we wanted to create. So we're really enjoying it.
Well, listen, Lenny's already calling you the goat, so it's appropriate that you're buying goats as well. So that's good. How many acres is that estate?
30
farm. 30 acres.
Yeah, it's really great too, because we have, I think, like I don't know, a couple acre lake. There's 5 or 6 acres that are open. There's a creek or stream that runs through the property. And then behind the house, I think there's maybe 10 acres that's all wooded. So it's like a good mix of kind of woods and trees and open and lake. And yeah, so it's pretty magical.
And few $1 million?
Almost 4.
Uh-huh.
And that's just to get in.
Yeah. But 20 years ago, you were digging holes somewhere in the ground as a construction laborer?
Basically digging ditches. Yeah. That's real estate, isn't it? I mean, that's crazy.
Did you inherit a bunch of money, Jerry, at some point?
Yeah, no. No,
Like
not only did I not inherit any money, but I wasn't even taught any fundamentals about money, no basic principles about investing, not even saving. No one taught me how a credit card worked, how to open a checking account, like nothing. So as a young adult, all of that was new to me. Basic things that my kids learned at, young age were brand new concepts to me as an adult. So
what were your parents doing? They were just raising kids and surviving. And what was that background?
I mean, I had a great childhood. We grew out in the country, dirt road, middle of nowhere, on a little farm. My parents, did the best they could. They taught work ethic and that, but my dad was basically a contractor, but it was the typical contractor, like job to job. And we never really, like, Pace's story was they had a lot of money, then no money. It was like we had a tiny bit of money and then no money, so we had like the electric turned off, and it just, my parents didn't know the some of the really basic things around managing money, and that wasn't taught to me. So I had to learn all that, but I wanted to. I was hungry. I wanted something better than what they were able to give.
How many siblings did you have?
We're 7. So
7.
I'm the second of 7.
You are one of 7.
Yeah.
That is incredible. Do you ever think about that, Jerry? Do you ever go, well, I had such a chip on my shoulder because I wanted more. Am I allowing my kids to have a chip on their shoulder? You know what I mean? Like, you got 10 of them. And so
it was actually good parenting on accident. It was like accidental good parenting, because my parents just didn't have the means to give me anything. So if I wanted something, I had to go get it and figure it out. So from a young age, I just learned that, man, if you want something, you got to go get it. No one's going to hand it out to you. And that principle has done well for me. Like, I've never been that victim of like, oh, poor me, I got dealt the wrong hand, boo-hoo. I never had that. I was always, no, you want something, go get it. And so, I have to sort of fabricate that with my kids, because it's not out of necessity. It's out of, just wanting. I have to create that, so that they don't get entitled and don't feel like, everything's just handed to them. So that it's a different challenge that they have than what I had.
Yeah. How do you do that if they're already on, this level of a financial situation and you were, you know what I mean? Down here, how is their hunger if their bellies are full?
Yeah. I mean, that's the hard part. I mean, I just have to tell my kids all the time, I'm rich. You're not rich. You're broke. It's my money, not your money. And this is, so what I tell my kids, I say, look, you can't ever decide for somebody else how they spend their money. So like I may have a car and it may be an extra car, maybe sitting in the driveway, no one's using it. It doesn't mean you get to use it because it's not your car, it's mine. Right. Or boat or nice things, whatever. Because nobody else can tell someone else how they should use their money. So if you want to decide how to spend money, decide how to spend your own money, not my money, because it's mine, not yours. Yeah. And so I constantly instill that in my kids. And I tell them too, Brent, I tell all my kids, I say, look, I'm not leaving you anything. So you might want to go make your own life, because if you wait around for me to give you money or inherit it or whatever, it ain't going to happen. And so, because I don't want them to coast through life. I want them to go figure out their own way.
Well, aren't you going to be a grandparent soon?
Yeah. We're due, our second oldest and his wife are due end of the summer, I think, like early September.
But isn't that the classic Achilles heel of this whole thing that you've set up, right? Like, what if your grandkids want stuff? What if your kids run into some sort of financial bind and they need daddy to stroke a check?
Yeah, I mean, we've certainly ran into that, and we have to figure out, okay, is this something we want to do, or how do we handle this? So it's a delicate balance. Our oldest, it was he did a church mission like I did, very Mormon culture. He came home and he was at home and he was wanting to go out late and he was wanting to have friends over and watch movies till late. And after a few weeks, I was like, yeah, this isn't really good for you. It's not good for me. You got to go. And his first 6 months out of the house was a little rough. And I remember him calling up and being like, hey, I got to go to the dentist. What do I do? And I'm like, well, if you don't have insurance, you got to pay out of pocket, And one time he asked for a bed mattress, and my wife said to him, look, if I buy you a mattress, then that communicates to you that I don't believe you have the ability to solve your own problems. And I'd hate to communicate that to you. And because he was sleeping on like an air mattress on the floor and stuff. And he figured it out. He's doing awesome now. He's in the family business. He runs my hotel. But dude, it's brutal. Like he came and visited for a few days. And he was on the phone all the time, because when the doorbell rings at the hotel and someone can't get into their room or whatever, it goes to him. And he never complains. He works long hours, hard hours. He helps people haul their suitcases up and down, and he's running around. I mean, it's a tough job, but he's grateful. He's learning a ton. And, I'm just really proud of him. He's really just kind of grabbing life and doing well in the beginning here. So. Yeah,
but that's like, your oldest kids, Jerry, I mean, these are the kids that, you were in a, smaller houses, didn't have this big portfolio, you've got two multi-million-dollar houses in Montana, another one in Puerto Rico, another one in Tennessee, let alone the properties that you're building in your portfolio that you have and the businesses that you have. You got babies now still, bro. Like they're growing up in a totally different world than the first half of your kids, right?
Yeah, they're definitely, and that's part of, Brent, why we wanted the homestead, because we want their hands in the dirt. We want them outside. We want them riding bikes. We want them getting dirty, taking care of animals, having responsibility. The older 5, they got to travel a lot. They got to see the world. But I just want that a little bit different for the younger 5, so. We'll see if we can create it. We're really hopeful we can. And, but each kid's different. I mean, this, Brent, every kid's hardwired different.
Yep.
And, you think you figured something out, and then another kid comes along with a different set of personality and challenges, and you're back to the drawing board, so we just take it kind of one day at a time, one kid at a time, and do the best we can. And I think that's all you can do as parents. There's no manual, and I think I get it wrong a lot, and I try to get it right some of the time. And I don't know. The point though is I want to be a good parent. I want to be a good dad. I want to be involved. And I think if you really want that strongly, then you'll fumble through things, but you'll end up being there when it really matters. And so I just keep trying to remind myself, like, hey, you know, be the dad that you really want to be. Look, can you look yourself in the mirror and say, am I showing up the way I want to as a dad? And, you know, a lot of times the answer is no. And then you make adjustments, but you know, like I think that's all we can do as parents.
Yeah.
I mean, don't you agree?
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody knows what we're doing. You know what I mean? Like every situation, every kid is different. I think that there's some principles that should be established though. You know what I mean? Some financial literacy that's taught. And really just, how do you foster that little pilot light inside of everybody and fan that thing till it becomes a big flame? You know what I mean? And they have fire in their belly for whatever they want to be, whatever success that they want to have or whatever path that they want to have. I don't really care about that. I just want to make sure that they're confident. You know what I mean? I don't want them to be crippled by self-doubt all the time. And really just, you know, try to make friends wherever they go type of thing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, our biggest thing since we homeschool is we want our kids to learn how to learn, because if you can learn how to learn things, then nothing can stop you, because with ChatGPT and the internet and everything else, I mean, there's nothing that's not at your disposal, but you know how to go get the information and do something with it. If you can figure that out, then you'll be fine in life.
So you've got this huge farm now. It looks just absolutely incredible. I got to come see you sometime and bring my knuckleheads out there.
Yeah, you should.
But from literally nothing, construction worker growing up with a family that, you know, gets the lights turned off to this your arc in this whole business. What separates you from everybody that goes, yeah, I want that. I want that too. I want to be able to have all these estates, and I want to have millions and millions, and I want to have the freedom, and I want all this other stuff. What makes you different, Jerry?
I don't think I don't think I'm very smart. You know, I was an average C student in school. I think Brent, really what it is, if I were to look back over the past 20 years, it's just tenacity and just grit. You know, like I can just put my head down and plow through. And when something happens and I have a setback or I fall down, I get right back up and I try again. I've just never given up on myself. No matter what's happened, I just keep moving forward. And it's pretty boring. You know, it's just a 20-year slow, inch by inch, moving forward, one day at a time, one step at a time. Sometimes 2 steps back, 1 step forward. Sometimes 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You know, I see people do it a lot faster than I did, and I try to coach my students like, hey, you could get to the levels that I progressed at way faster, because you have so much more available to you than I did. And if you're willing to just work hard and take all of this technology and information we have, I mean, Brent, think about how advanced the knowledge we have with wholesale real estate is today than even 5 years ago. I mean, we know metrics right down to the exact number of leads and what they cost and how many conversations to have to convert into contracts and how many of those contracts get to the closing table. We know it all. I mean, there's nothing we don't know now because we have so much data around this business that it's not the information. It's not even the skill. It's not the data. It's not any of that. It's who's willing to just put the work in and take all this stuff and apply it, and not just apply it once or twice, but day in and day out. Those are $1 million producers in our business.
Anybody can do it.
I think anybody can do it who can work through the boring, hard, rejecting, tedious, monotonous, the part of this business that none of us really like, you know, which is talking to one more seller after I'm tired. You know, it's that person that does well.
Yeah.
I think it's not that you have to be charismatic or really good at sales. I mean, that stuff helps, but it's not that. That's not the magic ingredient. It's, can you get on the phone and think of these days, Brent, where you did this, where you get on the phone for 8, 9, 10 hours a day calling and like nothing, don't even stop for lunch. I mean, I have those days where I go, and I don't even stop for lunch because I'm just in the zone and just focus on what I'm trying to get accomplished. And, you know, if you do that consistent enough, you're just going to get results. I mean, you say it all the time, you will not fail.
Nope.
There's a 100% success rate if you do the work.
Yeah, we call it repetitious boredom. You got to fall in love with repetitious boredom, because and that's, I think, one of the toughest parts as an entrepreneur is we want everything to be exciting and we want to be smarter than everybody else. And when you think that you're smarter than everybody else, you're about to lose a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Every time that I thought that I was smarter than everybody else, I was like, oh, I got this investor that I'm talking to right now, and they want to put a solar farm in the middle of Maricopa, the city of Maricopa, not the county. And it's going to be $1 million deal. And I'm going to go and I'm going to make, multiple six figures and blah, 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 blah. And it turns into nothing. Or, I'm going to go and instead of wholesaling this, I'm going to flip this property and then or instead of flipping a property that could be a really great one, I wholesale it and so there's always things going on. There's always different.
I think, Brent, along those same lines,
situations.
in real estate, you never want to be the first to market or the first to the first idea, right? So like what I try to do is if I go into a new market, I don't want to be the first one to try something. What I want to do is I want to go find other people already doing it at a high level really well.
Yep.
They're now the proven success track record of the thing, and then copy what they're doing, maybe try to do it a little better than them, and you will win really big that way. I remember when I moved to Phoenix, I wanted to break into luxury, but like next level luxury. I wanted to break into the 3 to 5 million price point. I was already transacting at $1 million for years. And so I knew that Scottsdale was the place to do that. I moved to Phoenix and I found my person that I wanted to mimic. Now, he didn't even know that I was shadowing him or copying him. His name was John Wall. To this day, he's like my idol because he's so brilliant at what he does. He's not big. He only does a couple deals a year. He keeps it really small, but he's just brilliant at how he designs, how he builds, how he does his cost, just everything down to landscaping. So anyway, I saw this guy. I saw where he was buying. I went back and he had a blueprint that success leaves crumbs. I followed his crumb trail and I said, okay, he's doing this at the level I want to do this at. I don't need to reinvent anything. I just need to do it as good as him.
Yep.
And that was it. I did not make up something that wasn't already done and done well in the market. I just copied success.
Yeah. Something that punched me in the face, and I don't remember who said it or where I heard it from, but they said, if somebody's making more money than you are, it means that they've got a better system. They've got it figured out. They've got a better business. They've got better procedures than you. Right. And then you go, okay, well, I wonder what that is. Right. And then you call up the competition. You see how they are on the phone. You see how, what are they like on appointments? What are they like? How do they evaluate deals? Are they doing, 15, 20, 50 deals a month? And how many people do they have doing that? What is their estimated net that they're actually taking home on that? And it's really exciting to really pull that back and see what's going on. Cause there's always going to be somebody that is doing something, incredible that you can copy and that you can model.
I love the comment here. Mark Gabriel, he's my business partner with me. He owns a Joe Homebuyer with me. Rip off and duplicate. And he said, I'm not the most creative guy, but I can copy a system and implement it, right? Like if that's the skill set you can do, guys, then go on Brent Daniels' YouTube channel or my YouTube channel. I basically lay out like what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. Here's how I put a deal together. Here's how I structured it. Here's how I did the sales process. Here's all of it. And now you can just go copy that. It's literally copy and paste real estate is what you can do. That's what a good mentor will do. They'll sit you down and they'll say, look, here's how I built my business. You can do the same thing. Just follow these things and it'll work for you too. And I think sometimes we get into real estate and we think somehow I have to be this creative mind and come up with these, life shattering ideas. And no, you don't. Just copy someone else really well.
Yep. I love it. We've got 5 questions here. And guys, I want to encourage you to put your questions in the chat. When it's Jerry and I, we blow through a lot more questions than when there's, 4 or 5 of us on the screen, all, clamoring for a little bit of airtime. So we'll definitely get to your questions. So put them in the chat here and don't leave the show without getting your question answered. So Scott asks, How do you pay an agent on the buyer side if you're offering to cover the buyer side commission, but you're assigning it? So does the buyer pay the 3% or does it come out of your assignment?
Yeah, great question. The way we do it is it goes right on to the buyer, your cash buyer, when you do the assignment. Because remember, your contract says buyer's going to pay the commission, so it's no different than closing costs. Whenever you put buyer will pay closing costs, you're passing that on to the cash buyer as well. Commission's no different. Now, make sure when you do that, that the number you're bringing it to market at is including that commission. In other words, they got to pay that. So the deal better be juicy enough to where even after paying the commission and the closing fees, if those are included, then there's room for it to be a good deal. So you just got to bake that in. So I actually communicate that to the agent. So I'll say to the agent, I'll say, look, my all-in number on this deal is 100,000. If you want me on the buy side to pay the commission, then we need to be at 94,000. So I can pay you 6,000 in commission. So I can land at 100. I got to land at 100. So again, if I'm paying you $6,000, then the price to the seller needs to be 94. We add your 6 on, I'm all in for 100. Now when you pass that deal on to your buyer, it's not a fee on top of what they would pay. It's included in the deal.
And is that, but it's getting paid from the buyer. It's not coming from your assignment.
Correct.
Right.
That's
so are
right.
you selling it to the buyer then at whatever it is? You're factoring 94 plus whatever you want to make.
Yep. So let's say you want to make 10. So then you would go, what would that be? 106, right?
Yep.
And then you would say, just like when you say, here's my price plus closing costs, you would say, here's my price plus closing costs and 3% commission. But again, the cash buyer is going to be looking at, okay, well, what am I all in at? And is that a deal?
Yeah.
So when I buy it plus commissions plus closing fees, where do I land?
Arter, why is cold calling so hard for me? I hate dialing myself. Well, welcome to the world of real estate. Yeah, you are in good company, brother. You are in absolute great company. Yeah, it took me a long time to be comfortable. I had to lose everything to really, really just force myself to get out of my comfort zone and build that consistency. So my suggestion to you is don't do it alone. Right? There are so many people in the chat here, so many people in real estate groups, so many people in mentorship groups that all day they'll jump on a Zoom call and just share, their experience and share, the time together that they are prospecting. Just don't do it by yourself. Okay. And it might sound like, oh, well, I don't want to embarrass myself. It's a lot better to embarrass yourself and be around people that are going to celebrate you and cheerlead you when you do screw it up and when you do have a great call and when you do have success. So my suggestion is just connect with people that'll do it side by side with you. Somebody that's got a good motor, right? Batteries come included with them, and they're going to push you and gamify it. Luke Rotfold, who was my acquisition manager, and he was he's grown an unbelievable multi-million-dollar business. He's a great follow on Instagram, Luke Rotfold. He does some really interesting Airbnbs. He would play Madden. He would play the Madden on PlayStation all day long, hours and hours and hours while he was making calls. And he got like top 10% in Madden. And he would just do it while he was making calls. That's what he needed. His brain needed some sort of stimuli to stay consistent with his prospecting. And he built a multi-million-dollar business playing video games. Right?
That's wild. I would add to that. I think I would add to that, Brent. Cold calling yourself as a business owner is sort of like the bottom of the barrel. Like you do that when you've got absolutely no capital to put into marketing. As soon as you have a few bucks, you can hire a cold calling agency for like $6-7 an hour. For $1,200, $1,300, you can get a full-time cold caller 40 hours a week for a month for $1,300, something like that. And now that doesn't mean now you get off the phones. It means now let them do the outbound, like dial. And now they create a warm lead that comes into your lap. And now you're spending your time talking to vetted sellers.
Yep.
And you can close 1 in 50, maybe a little better, but somewhere around 1 in 50 cold call leads that have raised their hand and say, yes, I'm interested in selling. But it doesn't mean you have to go through the thousands. You can hire that part out. So you guys that are like, oh, I hate cold calling. Well, yeah. I mean, think about it. You're doing a $6 an hour job when you cold call, like true cold calling, where you're just getting a high equity list or whatever, and you're calling it. That's a $6 an hour job. If you're worth more than $6 an hour, hire that out.
There you go. Boom. Charles, guys, I'm working on a 5-unit seller finance deal, and the people are worried it will F up their Medicaid income limits. If you have worked on something like this, I would love your help. Great question here, Charles. So you're talking about, if this owner starts getting additional income, it's going to screw up their deal with Medicaid. And so I would talk to, I would see what the limit is. Like, what is the minimum that they can make to still get their Medicaid, to still get their benefits from Medicaid, and then just work the deal over either a longer period of time. Probably just over a longer period of time. Smaller payments.
You could amortize it longer. You could lower the interest rate. I mean, they could still get the dollar number they want, but you can structure the payments to be whatever you want. So if they don't want too high of payments, which is pretty stupid to me, why not make higher payment, whatever. But, you can structure the monthly payments to not disqualify them, and they still get the number they want. You just got to make the payment smaller.
Yeah, I think it's a great situation, because that'll only be for so long, Charles. You know what I mean? There might be adjustments to how much that they can make. Maybe some of their other income that they have coming in goes away. So it's a good insurance policy for them. So I would just see what the limit, maybe they're at their limit, and maybe it's not the best situation for them, but I would have them talk to whoever. Do people represent people with Medicaid? Jerry, do you know? I don't know. Is there like,
I think it's just a reporting thing. Like, if they report more than X income, then they don't qualify for it. Structure a 0 down deal or deferred payments or anything. Like, just figure out how to structure that to where it doesn't disqualify them. I think you're in a great position for that.
Yeah. Ivan asked, hey, Brent or Jerry, quick question for you guys. How much should someone get paid if they bring a deal to a real estate investor just for bringing the deal?
Yeah. So what you're talking about here is the difference between wholesaling, where you control the deal, you have the contract, you name the price, and just a straight up bird dog or a referral. So referrals have much less value. When someone hands me an address and says, hey, here's an address, but you got to call the seller, you got to negotiate, you got to get the contract, you got to find the buyer, that's 90% of the work. So I think like just a cold lead, a referral to a property or a property owner, maybe has a value of $500, $1,000. I don't know. What do you think, Brent? That's much different than you lock up the deal, you get it at a discount, you wholesale it for market value. I mean, everybody wants to be moving in that direction. You want to control the deal. You create the equity by getting it at a discount, and then you sell it for the 10,000 or whatever more.
Yeah. I mean, Ivan, I think what you're talking about is wholesaling. If you find the deal and you lock up the deal and you sell the deal, it ranges. I mean, I would say that the average is probably 15,000 per deal. But obviously, the price point affects that. If you're under 150,000, you're probably going to be lower than that. If you're above 150,000, you might be higher than that. But that's pretty typical, Ivan. Okay, we got some great questions going on.
Keep them coming, guys.
Yeah,
I love hitting Q&A, Brent. This is great.
I know. Boom. There you go. You want to read this one?
Yeah. Hey guys, what do your daily schedules look like in your businesses now that you have built these bigger companies? Yeah. I mean, I'd love to hear, Brent, what your day looks like, but I typically don't even get started with like work till usually around 10 o'clock. So, I'm on Eastern time, which is great because the other half of the world's not even awake yet. So I get a lot of that personal time in, spend time with my wife, try to do some exercise, I get the kids going. And so I kind of protect my mornings. Here now I'm on the farm, so I'm out with all the animals and stuff. So I really like that morning. I did that in Puerto Rico too. It just really protected my mornings and got in a lot of that personal time that you get. But then when I lock in, like at 10 o'clock, I lock in, and then I typically go till usually around 5. I try to stop a little bit throughout the day for breaks and things, but I don't overwork. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, maybe even at my stage in the game, still work long hours. And I probably average, under 40 hours a week. And but that's taken a lot of, strategic planning to make sure that I've got the team in place and the systems in place. So I want to stay high level. I always try to stay high level. If I get invited onto a meeting with my team and it's not high level, I very quickly identify that. I tell my team, why am I on this call? You guys can handle this without me. I should not be included in this. When I get CC'd in emails, I tell them, un-CC me. I don't need to be part of this communication. You're clouding up my brain space, right? So, because I have multiple businesses, I've got software, education, I've got the real estate business, I've got to juggle. Brent, you're the same way. I got multiple hats I wear, and I got multiple balls in the air. I got my business partners, right? So I try to really plan out, just high level blocks of time to work on certain things, and then hyper focus on those things, and then stay high level as much as I can. I always ask myself, is this the best use of my time right now? And the best use of my time is always in the owner's box, and it's strategic planning. It's high level things. It's thinking of, okay, what direction am I trying to take the business? Are we heading in that right direction? It's vision casting. I do a lot of vision casting where I'm helping the team see the bigger picture of like, hey, here's where we're going. Here's where we're going. How are we doing getting here? So that's sort of like what my day looks like. I guess that was pretty general, but I don't know. What do you think, Brent?
Yeah, for my real estate business, we meet on Tuesdays and Fridays at 10 a.m. for about an hour. We go through every single lead that came in, what happened with them. We troubleshoot anything that's happening with negotiations, right? We kind of, think tank certain leads just to put together some different strategies based on the conversations that we've had. If we lose out on deals, I want to know why. The whole team wants to know why. So there's a high level of accountability, but I'm not micromanaging. They don't come into the office. Everybody works from home, and that makes it pretty easy to just get up and go. People aren't coming in and I don't have to be in the office like hawking on anybody. I've hired really great talent that are, self-motivated. They're winners. They want to win. And so, they're rocking and rolling all over town throughout the week. And then I'm just a deal junkie, Jerry. You know what I mean? I like looking at the deals. I like, wow, I get excited about certain ones. If they're in certain areas, do I want to keep this? Do we want to, put some money into this and flip it if the numbers are right? So we've been doing some more of that, Jerry. And so for the most part, a couple hours a week, the rest of the time, I'm at the gym, I'm popping protein shakes, I'm having fun, I'm raising kids.
How many hours do you work, would you say, in the business? How many hours?
In the real estate business, probably 5 hours. The rest of the time, Jerry, I'm coaching my face off. Everybody that I've ever mentored is in my phone. They have my personal cell phone. So they're asking questions. We're jumping on the phone. We're doing that. I love it. I'm a natural teacher. I love teaching. It's never like a burden. It's always a blessing to be able to, problem solve some issues. And or just talk about, like you were talking about, vision casting as people are growing and developing their business. That's really exciting. And then I've been really in with the pay-per-click leads. I love it. I love that business. I think it's just incredible. So I've got all those guys in my office, and I'm picking their brains all the time. I want to get better leads. I want to get faster leads. I want to get juicier leads. And so it's that part's really exciting. But the real estate side, maybe 5 hours a week, Jerry.
That's great. Yeah.
Yep. And then I do have a personal trainer at the gym that I go to on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at noon. I love working out at noon. I never like the morning workout thing. I get it. It makes you feel good, makes your whole day downhill. But that's the only time I ever injured myself was the mornings.
And it's busier.
So, huh?
And it's way busier in the morning.
Oh yeah. At noon, there's nobody. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Michael asks, how would you recommend someone run a wholesale operation part-time until they make enough to go full-time?
Well, I don't know that you're running a business part-time. I think you're transacting part-time. And so maybe there's a difference there. So what you want to do is you want to transact enough deals to where you can move out of the part-time and move into the full-time. For me, my experience has been, and all the people that I've coached, is it's very challenging to do wholesale real estate part-time. It's just tough. And it's going to stay tough until you can move out of that part-time role, because, you go to your 9 to 5 and then you start your 6 to midnight or 6 to 1 a.m. is your part-time real estate business. And that's a phase that, everyone's has to go through. You can't skip it unless you got a lot of money handed to you. But if you're like me and Brent and most people, you just have to go through that grind phase, and it's brutal. And you got to sit down with your family and say, look, after work, I'm going to be working again, and you're not going to see me. But I'm building something for you, and really focus on quality over quantity when it comes to your kids and your spouse and stuff. But you got to get through that phase, but you want that phase to be as fast as you can. So for me, what I did, I don't know if this is the right way, it's just what I did, is I part-timed it until I had enough money set aside that equaled my annual salary in my day job. And then I told myself, okay, when I have that in part-time revenue from wholesaling, I'll quit the full-time and go full at it real estate. And so, it took me a year or so part-time in it to get that. It wasn't very much either. It was only like 25 grand or something. And then I took the plunge full-time. And here's the crazy thing, Michael, my first month full-time, I think I did like 5 transactions and made like 52 grand in my first month full-time. Because now I had like all the focus. I had gotten through a handful of deals. So I understood the process. And now I just needed to like really go at it. And that worked great. I don't regret that path I took. So people ask me all the time, like, hey, should I quit my job and go full-time? I don't know. You got to make that call. But I think what you do is you part-time it until you get a little bit of cushion, maybe, and enough to give you some runway, and then maybe make the plunge. That's wholesale real estate. So that may not apply to other strategies, but I think that's what I've seen work well in real estate, in wholesale.
Yeah, I think step one is you got to find your community. You got to find your tribe. You got to find people doing this. You got to change your environment. You have to. You absolutely have. If you've made the decision that you are going to commit to being a real estate entrepreneur, and you try to do it behind the scenes and not really meeting anybody and just trying to figure it all out, it's not going to happen. You'll get pulled into another direction on another passion project that you have. It's just not worth your time. Right. So you got to find your tribe of people that you can connect with, whether that's local, whether that's groups, Jerry's group or my group or Pace's or Jamil's or whoever's, anybody that you feel like in your gut, you're like, yeah, I want to be a part of that. Join it. It doesn't have to cost you anything. You can do it totally for free in your backyard. Do it. Next is get proof of concept. Do your first deal. Do your first deal and see what that does to your brain. You know what I mean, Jerry? When you did your first deal, like your first assignment or your first flip, or you made your first, little bit of income in real estate somehow, and you're like, oh yeah.
Mine was $6,000.
I could do this again, right? Yeah. I could do this again and again. I am all bought in. Like I am drinking the Kool-Aid, baby. I'm going bananas, right? And then once you've made that commitment, and you've got your tribe and you've got your first deal done, then you have to replace your income. You got to fire your boss. You got to make enough to be able to fire your boss. And that's one of the best days ever. Best days ever is when you can walk in this whole life that you were like, oh my gosh, I'm going to always have a boss. It's going to either be my teacher at the school or the principal or this manager at Foot Locker or this other boss at this other job or this professor. I've always have these authority figures on me all the time. And then you get to just take that completely off and you're like, oh, there's another way to live. There's this whole other thing, firefighting, right? There's this whole other way to live that you can just control this time that we have in this plan. This is crazy. You need to go through that, fire your boss, and then earn enough to where you can fire yourself. And that's an even better time. It's a harder time. Arguably it's a harder time to fire yourself and be real about it. Not like, oh, I'm the boss and I want all these people working for me and I'm recruiting all these people because I got a dynamic personality and I'm loud on social media and I can attract a bunch of people that, have nothing, but they want everything. They want to be like me. So they're going to come and work for me. And now I'm out of it. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking when you really have real talent on your team that these guys are actually better at sales than I am. These guys are better at negotiating than I am. These guys are better on the phone than I am. These guys are better at selling deals than I am. These are people who are better at putting together the design of this, fix and flip or whatever else than I am. You get to that point and you're like, what? Oh my gosh, all these people are working around me and with me. That's exciting. That's really exciting. And then you get to start building your portfolio. Then you get to start, cherry picking the deals you want to keep or lend money or start a data company or start a marketing company or start a coaching company or whatever else you want to do. But I wouldn't suggest that you do that if you're still in the 9 to 5 or really as an entrepreneur, it's the 6 a.m. to midnight grind to get your business up and running. Don't add things on top. Stay super, super, super focused, fall in love with the business. And then you're going to be a magnet for really great talent, Michael. But I would highly suggest get proof of concept, guys. You got to get proof of concept as fast as possible. Jerry, I cannot tell you how many people at seminars and conferences and people that come into the office and I ask them, how's business? How are the deals going? What's going on? I'm still working on my first deal. Go to any RIA, go to any real estate. I spoke at a RIA last week and it was like deer in headlights with me up there. They were just like, I don't know what's happening here. This guy wants me to talk to people. You gotta find your first deal. You gotta get proof of concept to really get addicted to this.
So true.
There you go. Go ahead, Jerry.
New guy here. Before I get analysis paralysis, should I start with traditional wholesaling or land flipping? Okay. Before I get analysis paralysis. Well, I mean, analysis paralysis, you can have that anywhere. You can have that in wholesaling, land flipping. I mean, that just means you have a really hard time getting to an offer price and getting to a number that you feel confident that if you got the deal, you could move it and make money. And oftentimes that analysis paralysis, it's Brent calls it creative avoidance. Isn't that what you call it, Brent?
Creative avoidance.
Yeah, it's just you're telling yourself, I got to run more comps, or I got to cool little calculator here and I'm playing around with the numbers and instead of like just forget all that, pick up the phone and make a low offer, because that's going to get you way further, way faster than any kind of analysis does. So I guess I'm not really sure here. Is he asking Brent?
I think the underlying, if we're reading between the lines, and maybe I'm wrong, Joseph, so correct me if I am. I think he's saying, Jerry, which one's easier?
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, here's my take on this. Land flipping, you don't have the analysis part of repairing a house, right? Because there's no house to repair. So you get to take that part off the table. But on the flip side, there's a lot less buyers looking for land than there are looking for houses. So you have a smaller buyer pool. So you're playing in a smaller pond with land. Now, that doesn't mean there's not tons of opportunity. I know people that do, hundreds of thousands a month in wholesaling land.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, though, that houses is something you can get your head around. There's always a buyer for a house. You're going to have lots of opportunities. I like to reverse it, Brent. I like to say, okay, where are all the buyers at and what do they want? And then go there, because I know that if I do the right things up front and I get a good deal, I'll have no problem moving that deal. I have people all the time bring me these crazy land deals and they're like, hey, I can get this tract of land. What do you think? And it's like, okay, well, who's the buyer? How do we find the buyer for this unique piece of land with some weird zoning, or whatever. So I don't know. I kind of feel like land flipping is a fantastic strategy. It's a great opportunity. A lot of people do well with it. Houses, though, is just something that's a whole lot easier to because there's always a buyer for it.
Yeah. Listen, there's some great land coaches out there. And if this is a gut thing, Joseph, it's not a head thing. It's not a heart thing. It's a gut thing. What do your instincts tell you? Right. What is when you go, okay, land versus houses, which one like fires you up? And then just do that. But just take the action, take massive imperfect action towards whichever one. And if for some reason you're not, gaining traction, you can always switch it up. You know what I mean?
I have a student, Brent, right now, and they do land. They've done just land exclusively, wholesaling. And they've been doing around $100K a month in land, which is fantastic. But he sat down with me on a coaching call, and he's like, we can't seem to scale past $100K a month. How do we scale past $100K a month? We're in multiple markets doing land. We really don't want to keep expanding into new markets. How, he's asking them. And I basically said, have you considered houses? Why aren't you switching over to houses? And they were sort of like, well, we really have a niche with land. And I said, okay, if you're maxing out your opportunity in a market, you either open new markets and keep opening new markets, or you bring on a new strategy. Like, those are your options. So I don't know, either open new markets or stay in the markets you're in, but introduce houses now and see where you go with that. So, I think that's the problem with land is you have limited opportunity. Houses, unlimited. You will never run out of enough houses. There's always going to be another distressed house for you to go after.
Yep. DJ asks, have you guys ever experienced a wholesale deal where the property was put into a trust, then bought and sold? It seems like a way to work with regulations in Oregon. If so, could you explain how it worked?
I think I know what they're talking about. So we do this strategy. We call it the LLC flipper method. But basically, you're setting up an entity. It could be a trust, or it could be an LLC. And the LLC holds the contract on the property, right? And then now, rather than assigning the contract, you sell the membership rights of the LLC or the trust. And so the buyer's buying the LLC owns the contract. There's no change in owner. So you avoid an assignment, and you're technically not really wholesaling. You're selling a business. Does that make sense? That might be what they're referring to there, Brent.
Is this, do you think that this is going to be more common, Jerry, with these states that are just, Xing out, saying no way you can assign deals in this state?
Yeah. I mean, I think it might be a workaround, but I think they'll close that loophole because it's still equitable interest. That's the challenge. So like whether I sell my membership rights of an LLC that owns a contract, or I assign the contract, either way, I'm monetizing my equitable interest because I don't yet own the property. So I think there'll be a strong argument in some of these states that are trying to stop wholesaling that in essence is the same thing. Like that's not going to be a viable workaround. Now it might be for a little while till they close that loop. But I think if it was challenged, that they would say, no, nice try. That's still wholesaling.
Yeah, I've never dealt with this, DJ. It seems the risk that you run here from the buyer's side, the end buyer's side that would be buying this trust and or LLC is there any debts? Is there anything weird attached to this LLC and or trust that we need to know about? And by the way, trusts aren't that, I mean, it's not as simple to set up a trust as it is an LLC. I could be wrong. Do you know, Jerry?
LLCs are way easier. And
I sat down with a trust attorney for hours.
Right. So if you ever do, by the way, guys, if you ever do buy an LLC, you better do the UCC filings because someone could take out $100,000 business line of credit the next day on that LLC. You bought the LLC. Now you just bought the debt. So that's what Brent's talking about. You can lever up an LLC and now you just bought it. So there's nuance to this. It's not clean, and not only that, but now it's not a real estate transaction. So when you sell an LLC, it's not on the closing statement because it's not real estate. It's an LLC. So you're transacting a business transaction outside of closing when you do that LLC flip or trust flip. So, I've done quite a few of those because what I used to do, Brent, is we would do all of my REO properties this way. We would set up an LLC and we would sell I'd sell my buyers the LLC, not the property, because you couldn't assign bank properties. So I've done hundreds of those that way, but there are challenges to it. Like you're trying to convince your buyer, hey, you're not buying, I'm not assigning the contract, you're buying my LLC, and we're going to do that outside of closing. You better have some trust going on there to do that.
Yeah. No, thank you. Frank the Tank NYC. Where do you begin if you know nothing about this stuff? Frank, welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome. Jerry Norton's YouTube channel is phenomenal. Pace Morby's YouTube channel is phenomenal. The Jamil Damji's YouTube channel is phenomenal, and mine is on that list as well. So go check it out. We have a lot of step-by-step instructions on how to get started there. Also, this podcast comes out 7 days a week, the Wholesale Hotline. It's not just this episode like chopped up. It's all original content, and it's phenomenal. So I would have you check that out as well. All right.
Yeah, but good luck, dude. You're about to go down a rabbit hole of an amazing life if you stay with it.
That's right. Blue Sky, question. Friend's lawyer told her not to put her inheritance in the bank. How can she become a private lender? How do I explain the advantages to her?
Well, I mean, if you put it in the bank, you're going to get 0.01% return on your money. So that's the point that she's making, is you'll never get ahead in the bank. Inflation will outpace what the bank pays you in a savings account, right? Or even a money market. So becoming a private lender is a way to do that. You can maybe earn double-digit return on your money, but there's risk. Like anything, the higher the return, the higher the risk. And so really the question here is, how does somebody become a PML successfully and safely? And I have this conversation all the time because I have calls every week where I talk to PML and I'm pitching them on lending me their money on my deals. And so the thing that I explain to PMLs, I say, look, whether you go with me or somebody else with your money, there's two things that you need to be aware of and really pay attention to. One is the operator. Are you lending money to someone who's successful at what they do? Or is this their first deal? Because someone can promise you 20% return on your money or half the deal or whatever. But like Brent says all the time, 0% of zero is still zero. You know what I mean? Or 20% of zero is still zero.
Yeah. Everything times zero is zero. That's right.
That's right. So you want a successful operator. Make sure you're looking at the operator. Do they have a track record? Can they show you that they're good at what they do? And then the second thing is obviously the deal. Do they understand the mechanics of the deal? Is that borrower able to explain the deal to someone who doesn't know anything about real estate in a way to where they can get their head around it and it makes sense? In other words, here's the value. We're buying it at a discount. We're going to add this value to it in the form of these repairs. That's going to leave us at a safe spread of equity. We're going to sell it at this number. As you can see here, there's room here for us to make money. You're in a safe position because there's loan to value, right? Like you got to be able to educate. It's all about educating a PML. If you can do a good job educating the PML as to why you're a safe operator and why it's a good deal, then people will lend you their money. People do not lend money when they don't understand the deal or feel confident in you as the operator.
Make sure you get the right paperwork. If you're going to lend money, make sure that you're putting together the right paperwork. The title company or closing attorney can handle all of that. So if the approach is, well, how do I protect myself? How do I make sure that, this money's not just going to be, stolen essentially? Make sure that you show them all the paperwork's handled by the title company. They're going to put together everything based on whatever conversation you have. If you're looking for them to be your private money lender, then have the title company take care of that. Cool. We're cooking, man. Pharrell, I did agent outreach and got a response today. The agent said she would love to work with me and discuss a partnership. What does she mean by partnership? And can you
role play
a line to say? Okay, got it.
Well, I would ask them, well, what do you mean by partnership? Because I don't know either what they mean by that. Do they want to partner with you on the deal, or are they referring to hey, we'll work together. I'll be your agent and we'll work together. Do they mean partnership like work together?
I think that's probably what it is.
Yeah.
So I'll be the agent, you be you, Jerry. Hey, or you be Pharrell. Hey, Pharrell. Yeah, that sounds great. What I usually do is with my investors is I actually partner with them, and that makes things go a lot smoother. What do you think of that?
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Agent. When you say partner, what exactly do you mean? Because if we get the deal, we may buy the property, keep it as a rental. We may buy the property and fix and flip it. Sometimes we pass the deals off to my other network of investors that I work with. So help me understand what you mean by partner.
Well, there's really a couple different options. One is, I bring you the deal and I get 3 or 6% of the ownership in the deal. Or when you sell it, I get exclusive rights to sell those deals.
Gotcha.
So I can list it for you.
Okay. Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah. In fact, Mr. Agent, I typically don't work with a buyer's agent. I like to go directly to listing agents on their particular listings, on their listings that they have. So with you in this case, I would most definitely let you represent me on the buyer side, or I would have available to you the buyer side commission so that you can take that commission if you'd like. You could get rid of it and the seller doesn't have to pay it. You could just represent the seller. I'll represent myself. I really don't care, but just know that the 3% buyer side, that's available for you. And I would be happy for you to get that and take that. And I do that all the time with my listing agents. On the back side, if that's a conversation you're interested, I would definitely like to talk to you about that. Now, I got to be honest with you. Typically, when I flip, the agents I work with on the back end, I do a flat fee or a discount listing on the list side. So if that's something you're okay with or willing to talk about, then we can have that conversation. But definitely, I'd love to build a long-term relationship with you. I'd love to work with you on multiple deals. Anytime you sit down with a seller and they got a distressed property, give me a call. I'll give you a cash offer. We'll see if that'll work for the seller. I'll cover, in that case, I'll cover both sides of the commission. So if you bring it to me off market, I'll pay you a full 6%. Heck, I'll pay you 10%. We can bake that right into the deal as long as it pencils. I just would love for you to be my go-to where when you run across distressed real estate, you call me and we see if we can get deals done.
Awesome. Give it up. Jerry Norton, everybody. Jerry Norton. He's done this before.
I've only done that 1,000 times, this week.
Yeah. My suggestion is, guys, but the P word is one of the nastiest words in business is partnership. You got to be really, 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 really careful with the partnership word. Especially when you're starting out. I get it. You want to have somebody there with you. But unless they're family or your wife or husband or something like that, it gets really tricky because there's always somebody that's going to push the pace and there's somebody that's going to trail behind. And most of the times it's like, oh, well, let's just divide and conquer. I'll go get the deals. You sell the deals. When, getting the deals is 80% of the effort, selling it's 20. So be very, very, very careful with partnerships. If an agent's like, I'll bring you deals, but I want part of the equity, that's bananas. Go talk to a different agent. Okay. And the fact that they even say partnership is an interesting, I think that it's just like a smooth way, right, Jerry, to be like, we'll do this as a partnership. We'll connect. They're trying to like build rapport. Maybe I would definitely clarify what partnership means. And does that mean we're both on a document that says that we own something together, or is this just like a hey partner? Yeah,
I think they probably in this case they meant some sort of equity split on a deal or work together. But I will say, I'll add to that, Brent, a true partnership where you're both members of an entity. That's a marriage, and that can be amazing if it's the right partnership, and it can be very messy if it's the wrong partnership, or if in time you end up going different ways. So sometimes it's a great partnership. It's just, you have a different vision than the partner. And as time goes on, you start to go like this, and then unwinding that partnership can be a mess. I had one partnership that was a 4-year legal battle, hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees, and just a bad situation. And then I've had other partnerships where they break up and it's super clean and we divide things and away we go and we're still friends. Yeah. So you just got to be really careful. I'm very selective now. In real estate deals, what's great about real estate is you can partner like on a deal, see the deal through. If you like the way it went, then you can do another deal. You don't have to go all in, and do a general partnership. Keep it limited, keep it a deal by deal basis. And then after a long time of proven track record, then maybe decide that.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a partnership where you've got partnerships with your Joe Homebuyer franchises with incredible people that are operating in the different markets, you bring an expertise, and you need a partner that you don't have the same expertise. And if you're starting out, you have the same expertise. So there's that and funds. If your partner's bringing in funds, great. Like I did a lot of flips back in the downturn, buying from foreclosure auctions because we had a funding partner, right? We split the deal. It was 70-30, and then it was 60-40, and then it was 50-50. And because they brought the cash, right? Yeah. But if somebody's not bringing cash or expertise and you're just homie hangouts, you've just cut your income in half. Yeah. And remember, guys, the whole point is to bring money home, to get rid of consumer debt, and then to buy assets. That's the whole point. You can't do that. And oh, by the way, you already have a partner. Everybody has a partner. We know who our partner is. Huh?
The IRS.
You got it, brother. You got it. That's right. Awesome. All right. So for your acquisitions and dispo agents, what's the best sustainable pay structure? Base plus commissions or 100% commissions?
I mean, I've seen lots of different structures, but I really like the straight commission, and I've seen a lot of people successful with that. You want that acquisition and dispo. You want those salespeople hungry, and you want them to, eat what they kill and kill what they hunt. So I don't know. I feel like a really A player acquisition person is going to be fine on just straight commission. So I don't know. What do you think, Brent? Is base plus commission okay? Or
yeah, I always set an 80K base plus commission with my acquisitions team, and that is just because I wanted to pull them from different industries and different jobs, right? To be able to do that, you have to be able to make sure that they know that you're a real business. I think when most people go commission only, it's because they're probably not a real business, right? They're probably
don't have the money to pay them.
Yeah, they don't have the money. They don't have the leadership skills. They don't have the accounting skills. They don't understand that you have to keep money in the account, right? To be able to hit payroll month after month, year after year. And then from there, you give them enough base to where they can, in my opinion, every great salesperson wants to hit at least 250,000 or more. So how do you squeeze you bring them in on a big base? That's 80. How do you give them at least another 170 in deals? That's our job. Our job is to rainmake all the deals at the top of the funnel and them to convert them. Right. And so as long as you're giving them enough leads, they can hit their financial goals and you'll hit your financial goals, and it all makes sense in the end. But I think that I honestly believe, Jerry, you need 2 acquisitions. I bet you could go $4 million, $2 million each acquisition manager.
I think so too. Yeah.
I mean, depending on the deal size, but if you're dealing with that 20 to 30,000 per deal, 2 acquisition managers.
Definitely not if you're doing a bunch of 7, 10K deals, but if you're hitting the 20s and 30s average assignment, I agree with that.
Matt Justice. Question is 1099 versus W2. The IRS told me I had to go W2. I mean, I am the 1099. I love 1099. I mean, holy cow. As soon as you go W2, and Jerry, maybe you could tell me your experience at W2, or maybe everybody's 1099 for yours. Instantly 25% increase in the cost of labor, just like that, right? Because you're paying for all of the extra stuff. You're matching Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all that. And then, well, I don't know if it's those. Social Security for sure. But then we did health insurance as well. So that affected it like crazy. But it was shocking. The first year I was like, where's My profitability was here. Now it's here, Dad. Yeah, my dad's my CFO. He's like, yeah, you went W-2. You know, what do you expect?
What's your guys' timeline for a new employee as far as are they working, are they not working out? You know, I know that they say.
Okay. Question is the whole thing, Jerry. Hire slow, fire fast. What is that? What is the actual? How much time do you give people before they're just not the right fit?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to keep people on a short leash, probationary period. You want to set things up to where, you're not locking in on somebody for a long-term commitment and then they're not working out. They need to know that they're on a trial period. So I think pretty quick. I mean, in a couple of weeks, you should know if somebody's got it or doesn't have it. Right. So I don't know. I usually give it a couple of weeks and then see if there's someone I want to keep on long-term or longer term.
How long does it take for you to hire somebody?
Well, that's the key. In the beginning, a lot of entrepreneurs in the early phases, it's like the gut check, well, you feel right. So you're hired. And a real business, though, they take the time, they do the personality profiling, they look at all the things, they look at the history, they look at, that you ask the right questions, you do the formal interviews. And it's sort of like, well, do you want to do a bunch of upfront work to get a much higher success rate? Or do you want to cut all the corners in the beginning and go through 5 people and take months and months to find the right one, right? It's going to be way better for you to go through all the work up front to really try to get the right hire than it is to skip all that and go through employees like toilet paper.
Yep. I love this. Look at this. Rob is in a bulldozer listening to us right now.
I mean, look at his profile picture.
Isn't that incredible? I've been watching this show, Rob. Jerry. It's like a Gold Rush or something. Have you guys seen that show? It's absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Rob, thank you for participating. Thanks for being in here. That's awesome. We'll get back to the questions. Thank you guys so much for putting in so many incredible questions. This is really, really, really good stuff here. Cody asks, should I double close my first couple contracts or stick to assignment?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why you would ever double close unless there's a compelling reason why. There's really 2 reasons why. One, you have to, because you're not allowed to do an assignment. And that could be because the contract says you can't, or maybe there's some sort of regulation that says you can't, or it's a type of transaction like bank properties, you can't, right? So the other reason would be your assignment fee is really big and you don't want anybody to see it. So you strategically double close. Those are really the only reasons why you would. Maybe a third reason might be you want to get some buy sells under your belt, right? Where you actually bought the property, because it gives you a little bit more credibility when you can say, hey, I buy houses, because you actually do, even though you sold it 5 minutes later. It kind of helps with some of that. But other than that, there really is no reason why you should double close over an assignment. Assignment, you'll make more money. It's cleaner. It's easier. You don't have to put any money in. You don't have to borrow transactional funding. It's just a little smoother way to do it.
I think there's always a fear, Cody, that once I show this investor how much I'm making, they're going to get angry. They're going to, big dog me. They're going to say no. And so we want to kind of keep that hidden from these investors, right? But let me tell you this, if you've got a real deal, sell it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Listen, there's way more money than there are deals. There's way more money than there are deals. So always go with that in your mind and build a healthy tension with your cash buyers. You don't want to treat them like you're an ass, but you also, don't want to get, totally stepped all over. So, I would be open and honest with them right off the bat, because then what happens is you almost take on a little bit of insecurity towards the rest of the escrow period or during the rest of the transaction, because you're like, oh, they're going to find out. They're going to find out. They're going to find out on the closing statement. They're going to find out on the closing statement. I hope they don't get mad. I hope they keep kidding. They'll do this deal. I'd rather know if somebody is a stick in the mud first, day one, than right before close, and it really adds to some issues.
Well,
So
Brent,
just
isn't it a fear that you don't believe you're worth the money you're making if you have that?
100%.
Like, guys,
100%.
if it's, let's say it's a 25K, we just did one that was a 50K deal, and we had all the confidence in the world about it. Like, we deserve every penny of that $50,000. We got a smoking great deal. We're bringing it to market at a great value. Of course, we should make $50,000. And of course, we're going to tell our buyer, look, we're about to make $50,000. You have a problem with that? Because I got other buyers waiting for this deal if you have a problem with it. So, like, you guys, get over that. You got to have confidence in your deal, confidence in yourself. And a real buyer is going to count the money in their pocket, not your pocket.
Well, and let me explain how these dispo guys work. Okay. It's called guilt. They work off, their currency is guilt. Oh, if you give me a few grand off of this one, I'm going to make it go so smooth. We've done some deals before. Don't you like working with me? You never know what you're going to get out there, right? Huh?
I'll get you on the next one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll hook you up on the next one. Give me a deal.
Listen,
give me a discount.
It makes sense. Jamil used to do it to me all the time. All the time. He'd be like, oh, bro, this is going to go so smooth. We're going to get this done. We've got the best buyer for this, bippity boppity, right? Then I was like, okay, whatever. And I would sell it to him and because I loved him and it was great. And then he would assign it for 40 grand more. And I'd be like, oh, this guy, like, what is happening? This guy. Anyway, Jose says, hey, Brent and Jerry, my land flipping business failed after 1 year and 22,000 of money invested. Any advice on how to move forward? I'm in a weird in between on what to do next. So he put 22 grand into, I assume, coaching. I assume systems. I assume a CRM. I assume some sort of lead generation. Maybe you just put it all into like paper leads or something like that.
I mean,
or direct mail.
I would first of all not define that as fail. I would get that failure out of your vocabulary. You didn't fail at all. I mean, I assume maybe you did some deals. Even if you didn't do any deals, what did you learn in a year of doing that? $22,000, that's a tiny tuition for what you learned. I would look at this like, man, I gained so much knowledge for $22,000 that I would never get, in college or somewhere else. This is fantastic. Now, how do I go do this again, but better? Yep. Because you got to get back up now, Jose. And if it's even a doubt right now of like, what do I do? You get right back up and you get right back on it and you go right back at it. That's what you do. And you do it again, but this time you do it better and you learn from your mistakes. And it doesn't mean anything about you. You are an amazing guy. And this does not define you. This is just a bump in the road. You know how many bumps in the road like that I've had? You just keep going and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I call it in my experience the stupid tax, and I've spent a lot in the stupid tax, right? But I learned a lot from the I wouldn't know what I know now if I didn't pay the stupid tax, right? Now if somebody was, watching over what I was doing and helping me out more, probably would have avoided some of that. But we all pay it. Every entrepreneur pays it. Everyone. So yeah. You're powerful. You're going to be able to go out there. And the interesting thing is, Jose, a year from now, you could be like, oh, 22K. Oh, we're only making 22K on this deal. Oh, it's such a teeny deal. What a cutesy little deal. What a little Easter bunny of a deal this 22,000 is, right? You know what I mean? You could be doing the huge deals. You could be doing amazing things. You know what, how many $22,000 deals you need to get to $1 million?
Yeah. And you know what I would add to that too is, Brent, is I don't know if this is the case, Jose, but high level coaching is worth millions because
of course
you're gonna pay the tuition. There's no way around it. You're either gonna pay it in the school of hard knocks, or you can pay it in coaching that can prevent some of the hard knocks. Usually, if you get good coaching, what you pay for the coaching versus what you get from the coaching, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars in value in things that you could have avoided or that jumpstart you further ahead than you would have on your own. But you got to make the mistakes. You got to pay the stupid tax. You're gonna, whether it's a bad deal or the wrong hire or the wrong marketing channel, whatever, there's no way around it. But good coaching, a good mentoring program is going to really help you get outside yourself. See, you're in your own way usually, so they're going to help you get out of your own way, and that's worth a lot of money to help you then do this the right way.
That's right. Cody asked Brent, how do I present myself as credible if I've never done anything for real estate? And how do I provide value to my group besides deal bringing? First of all, Cody, you can't be credible because you're not. But I'll do something better for you, right? One is you can go there to a property owner with stars in your eyes and tell them, I've never done a deal ever. I'd love for this to be the first one. I might screw it up here and there, but I promise I will communicate with you and I will tell you everything that's going on. And if I made a mistake, I'm going to tell you right away so that I don't waste your time. That's option one. Option two, Cody, is the whole theme of this show. If you strip this show down to its skeleton, that wobbly, clickety skeleton would say squad up. Squad up with somebody that has that is credible, that can walk you through. Bring him on the appointment. Bring him into the deal. Joint venture with them. Get help there, right? The last thing you want to go and do is go and lie to a property owner because they're going to know. They're going to feel it. You're going to have like assignment fee breath or like, you're just going to stink. You're going to stink over there. And they're going to be like, I don't know what it is, but I'm not feeling this guy. So go with all honesty, go with complete honesty and just tell them, you know what? I believe that I can make this happen, or squat up. Agree, Jerry?
Yeah. I mean, that's it. You're going to go a lot further when you get around the right environment.
Hey, Jerry, why don't you ever talk about New York City market when it comes to wholesaling? What's the deal? Can you guys explain with all transparency?
I mean, it's just a really tough market to transact in. However, that's New York City. I think the fastest growing market 2 years in a row, isn't it Buffalo?
Yeah.
I mean, so
God knows why. It is so cold there. Oh my gosh.
I don't know why either.
Have you seen it? They have like houses, they like get frozen over with like this crazy mud and snow, and it looks like they're frosted. Get out of here.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. It's not on my top 10 places to live.
I'll take 125-degree temperatures here in Arizona.
Yeah, I think the reason is because, average median sale price is like $250. So it's super affordable. But
yeah, for a reason.
Yeah. No one wants
no,
to
maybe there's new businesses opening up there. Maybe there's new economy. I mean, listen, you need jobs for appreciation. That's just number one. Yep. So wherever people are opening up jobs and whatever states are job friendly, that's probably where you want to invest in real estate. But I will say this, M. Garcia, the fact that you don't hear about wholesale deals in New York City, to be in New York City real estate, you have to be born and bred into it. It is a lifestyle. That is like a group that has been around since the beginning of the United States. Like this, it has gone generation to generation to generation. They're all super tight knit. It's wild.
I see a lot of our New York City people, they go over to Jersey or they find a different market. Yeah.
Some in Long Island, right? Some in Long Island, some in Brooklyn, a little bit. But if you're talking like Manhattan, it's a total. I mean, I guess there's how many boroughs? Five boroughs. Is that right? Do we know? Nobody knows. Anybody? Put it in the chat if you know. There you go.
Yeah, just the big leagues there for sure.
What's your opinion? Keith asks, what's your opinion on dispo portfolio deals? Any pointers or anything to avoid?
Yeah, I've got an opinion on that, Keith. So package deals are always tricky because you're talking about a group of single family homes. And the challenge is every single one of those homes has to be independently valued. And so what you do is you end up having to get your head around each and every one and really understand value, repairs, condition, all the things. And then you got to break it all down, and then you got to package it, and then you got to try to bring it to a buyer and help them get their head around each and every one of those deals. So it's just a lot of work, and it's just very complicated. And what I found is every time I've looked at a package deal, what's happening is you have like a tired landlord, or you have a bank tape, or you have something. And what they're doing is they're saying, hey, there's a couple good ones in here, but there's some dogs. And let's put them all together, and we'll throw the dogs in with the good ones to get rid of them. And then we'll offer it out as a package. And then you look at it and you're like, well, I like 5 of these, but 3 of these are horrific, but I got to buy the 3 to get the 5. But when you average it all out, it's not really that great of a deal anymore because you got to take on the bad ones with the good ones. See what I mean? Yep. Otherwise, why wouldn't the seller just one-off them and get the most that way? You know, so I don't know. I have a lot of skepticism. I've wasted hours and hours and hours of time looking at package deals just to like some of it, but not all of it. Buyers have a real hard time doing the same thing. It's like, oh my gosh, I got to do a lot of work and due diligence to see if this whole thing is worth it. So it's just, that's all. It's just a ton of work.
Yeah, I'll shorten that up. I agree with everything Jerry says, and I will just add, don't waste your time. Seriously, it's all fake. People that, oh, I got this big package. It's awesome. Yeah. Nope. No, they don't. Oh, this hedge fund's unloading all these deals. Nope, not to you. Not to you. You know, oh, we've got this guy, Bob Devers. He's got an office over here, like a little strip mall office, and it just says homes for rent, right? And he's been there forever. He's on 7th Street here in Central Phoenix. And I've gone in there a couple times to talk to Bob. Bob's ready to sell. He's ready to sell the whole thing. He's ready to travel the world. He's ready to sell. You know, the problem with Bob's portfolio, Keith, is it's 50% higher than anybody would pay for it.
Yeah. And those package deals, Brent, they're always listed on the MLS too. Like you Google them and you're like, these are all on the MLS.
We're all listed individually. What are we talking about? Yeah. What are we? So I would highly like, I have been hearing about we get package deals for 25 cents on the dollar. The banks don't want them. The asset managers don't want. Nobody wants these houses. We can get it for you. Just give me $50,000 and you could get a list of the properties or the phone number to somebody or something bananas. It's a scam. It's a total scam, Keith. Anybody that tells you that they're moving portfolios, they're lying.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially, they're lying. Maybe one here or there. Maybe one here or there.
Because you got to
Indianapolis or Memphis.
Right. But you got to ask yourself, why are you selling it as a package? Why don't you sell them one at a time and get more money?
Of course. Sam, we are nationwide. The question is, Brent, are you running PPC campaigns nationwide or mainly targeting Maricopa County? I have the Maricopa County, but I'm working with Jerry. I'm working with the Novation King. He's doing amazing novations from really cheap, inexpensive leads, I should say, not cheap leads, but inexpensive leads nationwide. It's phenomenal. So if anybody's interested in that, talk2people.com, talk2people.com. That's my plug. Jerry, I heard that you have a new interface with PropWire. Is that right?
Yeah. We did a whole new upgrade to the UI. So it's really cool. It's sleek. It's more modern, more functionality. Yeah, you guys check it out. Let me know what you guys think of it.
People are giving you a little bit of friction because apparently the interest rates for mortgages aren't on there anymore.
Oh, all right. Let me look into that. I didn't.
We've seen that a couple times in here, or maybe just one person a couple times, and it's probably on there, but they just didn't see it.
Yeah, it might be.
I would double check it. Right. This question is from Happy Mills. Is Zillow a good way to find buyers, or is there a better method that someone knows of? Yeah, I love going on Zillow. And looking at, if you just pull up all the properties that have been flipped, and you know they're flipped because they're staged, they're beautiful, they're up to today's standards. Oftentimes they're vacant. Then reach out to that real estate agent and start that dialogue with them and see. And oftentimes, I would say about half the time, the agent is the actual flipper themselves. And so that really works out, and that's a really great place. Again, you can pull up all the cash buyers at propwire.com. That's Jerry's totally free service. He's got a bunch of different add-ons that you can add to it. So it's a buffet of really, really, really incredible tools that you have access to. But the base of it is free, and you can get the cash buyers. You can get motivated seller lists. You can find out how long people have owned properties. You can run comparables. It's all right there. Jerry really torpedoed all of our other friends that had, subscription-based models. But who cares?
Yeah. I would add to that too, Brent, like whether you use PropWire, Zillow, or any of the platforms, what you want to do there when you're looking for a buyer is you want to be looking at active buyers in the same neighborhood and start there.
Yep.
So because, your best buyer is a repeat buyer in that area, because buyers love to do flips and own rentals in the same area where they already do it. So those are going to always be your best buyers. They'll pay more. They'll be more interested. So when you're doing that search for cash buyers, wherever your deal is, look around that neighborhood and see who you can find that's actively investing. And that's a good place to start.
PropWire is cool, for real. Deeds and liens. Deedsandliens.blogspot.com. Boom. Call out. Old UI is better.
Oh, you like the old UI better?
It's always like that, right? Like when Amazon switches up, you're like, or Facebook.
Dude,
that's the worst.
When iPhone did the new photos in iPhone, I hate what they did to photos. What did they do?
Yeah.
It's so much harder now.
Yeah, totally. Hey guys, great show. Great shows. We're winding down. Jerry, you have an incredible video out from your speech at the Squad Up Summit, guys. Make sure that you watch that after this. It's about 38 minutes of Jerry really breaking down, and it's beautifully done. Whoever was doing the camera work was just absolutely incredible and just top notch. Definitely check that out. But in there, you mentioned to stop doing 3 things. And I wanted to mention this because I think it's so important for everybody that is watching and listening to this. The first one is stop one-sided contracts. What does that mean, Jerry?
Yeah, one-sided contracts are where it's all in your favor and none in the seller's favor. So things like inspection contingency all the way to closing. I can back out for any reason, but you can't. Language that we've used for a long time, and we feel like it's great because, I'm protected. But when that goes before a regulator, a court, a judge, or a consumer protection agency, they're going to look at that and they call it mutuality of obligation. Is it a fair agreement between 2 parties? And if it's not, then they may call that contract, null and void or a fraudulent contract. That's the argument they're making, Brent, in the Arizona lawsuit, that because of a one-sided contract, it's now a fraudulent contract. So you just want to be really clean about that.
Yep. Number 2 was no or low earnest money on your deals. What does that mean?
Yeah. So Jeff Watson said that he's talked to a lot of other attorneys, other regulators, and the minimum earnest money that he recommends, he's a lawyer out of Ohio, one of the most respected lawyers in real estate. He said you want it to be a minimum of $500,000 for your earnest money. Now I go much higher.
$500,000?
I'm sorry, $500, $500,000.
500 to $1,000. I mean,
you'll get every deal.
Listen, Jerry's talking big stacks.
Yeah, no one beats me on deals. I put $500.
That's right.
$500 as sort of like a minimum, because that legitimizes your contract, right? It's earnest money is like an insurance policy to the seller. It's gonna look reasonable. It's gonna look fair. This whole $10 or no earnest money is just a bad move.
Yeah, I love it. And the last one was misrepresentations. Misrepresentations. What does that mean?
Misrepresentations is when you say things that aren't totally true and you can't back them. So technically, it's a misrepresentation to say, I'm a cash buyer if you've never actually bought a house cash. Or I'll buy your house for cash if you don't actually have the cash, or you have funds that will back you on that offer and you can prove it. So they look at intent here, and intent is defined by, do you have a history of doing it? And do you have the means and the ability to do it? So if you have $300 in your bank account and you're saying, I'll buy your house for cash for $200,000, that's misrepresenting. Or if you say, a good one that people do all the time is they'll say, my intent with pre-foreclosure is to keep you in the house.
Mhm.
Well, have you ever kept somebody in the house? Do you have a history of that? Do you have the ability to keep somebody in a house? No. What you really want is to buy the house. So don't say things that are misrepresenting the reality or the truth of what you're doing.
Awesome. Jerry, what are you rolling out on your YouTube channel this week?
Well, I got a video coming out on Wednesday that I'm really excited about. I actually did a live call with a PPL lead, Brent, at Squat Up Summit in front of the audience, 3,500 people.
Yep.
And I actually break down my own call and I show exactly like, here's what I did, here's why I did it, and the psychology behind it. So I just put a lot of effort into that. I'll release that on Wednesday. So that'd be a great video to watch.
Awesome. PPL stands for pay per lead. These are inbound digital marketing leads, some sort of internet-based leads. Definitely check that out, guys. That'll be part of your journey, I'm sure, is getting into pay per leads. So definitely check that out. I'm going to Disneyland. So
What?
I am
No
not
way.
here for my live show Wednesday. I leave Wednesday, and we are there. Do you know that they have a premium super pass now, Jerry?
How's that work? I probably do. We go all the time.
That there's a lightning lane that you can just skip, right? If you schedule it and you go and you got to go at a certain time. This, you don't have to schedule anything. You can go to any ride anytime. So we're going to check that out.
How long are you going for?
$300 each person, each day. Worth it.
How long are you going for?
3 days.
Okay, what parks are you doing? Because there's 4 parks.
So we're
Which
going to the California.
Disneyland. You
Yeah.
said Disneyland. Yeah.
Yep. So
You got the 2 there.
it's going to be
Yeah.
awesome. Anyway,
Good for you, man.
guys, we love you. We know that, real estate it can feel heavy. It can feel a lot. It can feel like you don't know anything. But again, as long as you take massive imperfect action, you have conversations every day with property owners or people that represent property owners, and you make offers, you cannot lose. You cannot lose. I don't care if you're 15 or you're 500 years old. You will win. Anybody can do this. And if you need some help, make sure that you go on to Jerry's YouTube channel, Pace's, Jamil's, myself. We respond in the comments section. That's kind of a little hack if you guys haven't noticed that already. And we love you guys. Best of luck. We'll see you next week.
See you next
Thanks,
week.
Jerry. See you guys.
Or just say squat up.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
What are you doing?
I didn't say that thing.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Cool. I think we should use the one where Jamil doesn't say anything.